Hey, what's up, fantasy football fans? This is Mitchell with FF Real Talk, and yeah, it's getting to be that time of the year. The season's about to start in under 48 hours, and we got Thursday night about to pop off. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm heavily excited for real football as well as fantasy football. Everything, statistics, and all of that, all the drafting you did, and everything that you prepared for kicks into official gear Thursday. So I hope y'all have enjoyed the draft season. That's the most fun part of the year to me. So I hope you was able to, any of the tips you got from anybody that you listen to or subscribe to, podcasts or whatever. Hope you got some use out of it and was able to apply it to your drafts, and in particularly my videos. Though I just started this 2 weeks ago, I hope you were able to get some use out of it in terms of your draft strategies. It seems like the auction video is quite popular, and I think I know why. It's because auction drafts tend to be a bit intimidating because it's not a given sector of information. You kind of got to glean some knowledge from it based off of experience and doing it. And it seems to be a lot of people enjoy that video. So I feel real proud that you guys like that one. And thanks for watching again. And thanks for subscribing, liking, following me on Twitter. I do this for y'all. You know, I want to see fantasy football become more solid throughout because I like good competition. I don't like just beating people every year. I really like when it grows. So I'm doing this for y'all, and I'm going to continue doing it. And just let your friends know this, that, or the other. Have them follow. I know y'all don't want to give away some of your secrets if you find it valuable, but we got to grow the channel as well. So, you know, don't be afraid to spread the word. But I'm here today, you know, to do a little taste of what I'm going to be doing starting week 2 through the rest of the fantasy season. And that's giving 5 starts, sits, and waiver pickups that I'll be suggesting to you after. So like I say, after seeing week 1 go, we're going to have a week in front of us, and then I'm going to be able to say who I think are players that you should start, should sit, and the best 5 people that you should pick up off the waiver. And with the starts, it won't be the obvious, you know, stud start. I'm talking about 5 players that you might want to consider starting that you maybe didn't. This start, sits, and waivers I'm not going to be able to do today, obviously, because nobody's played yet. So I can't say who the waiver pickups are going to be until week 1 is done. So these videos starting week 2 will probably start getting posted starting on Wednesdays of every week. Maybe even Tuesday, because I got to wait till the Monday night game is done. And if I can get it up Tuesday for y'all, you know, that'll be even better and quicker. So, but what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you 2 players in the skill positions: quarterback, running back, and receiver, and then 1 tight end and 1 defensive team that I think could generate some sneaky fantasy appeal this week. Anywhere from, you know, could be in the top 20, you know, rankings, though a number of these guys are not necessarily, you didn't necessarily draft them from where I'm going to be saying they have the potential to be. You probably took them later, but I'm going to be basically talking about their matchups and how I see them having some big weeks, or not, excuse me, having a big week this week. So what we'll do is we'll start with the quarterbacks, and that'll be Nick Foles against Jacksonville Jaguars. Last year, the Jaguars were one of the bottom 3 teams in the league. They were the worst in tackles. And as I said many times before, I only do ESPN leagues, and based on standard projections, they're projected rather to score -2 points. So what that says is they project, obviously, themselves, they project the Jacksonville defense to be completely exploited, and I think the same. Nick Foles has a chance to finish in the top 10 among quarterbacks this week, maybe even top 5, because we're going to see him really utilize his weapons on that really paltry Jacksonville defense. I don't think they got all that much better even over the offseason. So we're going to see Nick Foles go to work on him. And we're in particularly going to see Darren Sproles and what his new role with the Eagles is truly going to be about. Shady's going to get his, Cooper's going to get his, et cetera, et cetera. But we're going to see really what Darren Sproles is, because he's the dark horse. We don't know his role yet. I think we're going to find out, and I think it's going to be quite similar to the not the Rams, but the Saints, except even more up tempo. So I think Nick Foles is going to pick that defense apart, and he'll have anywhere from top 10 or even better week. And if you drafted him, you drafted him number 1 anyway. So it's gonna be, he's gonna start anyway. If you drafted him, he's gonna be the guy you got in. I'm just saying that though Nick Foles isn't drafted as a top 5 QB, I think he could very well finish in the top 5 this week. That's why I named him. These people I'm naming are basically, I expect them this week to finish ahead of their average draft position in pre-draft rankings. The next quarterback will be Ben Roethlisberger, versus the Browns. The reason I think that's going to go down is last year, the Browns were 23rd in points allowed. And more importantly than that, because, years change in terms of how good you're going to be or how bad you're going to be, this, that, or the other, it fluctuates. But this is the thing. It's because the offense is so bad with the Browns that the defense is going to be on the field a lot more than they need to be. They're going to be worn out. Fatigue's going to set in. And when fatigue sets in, bad play starts, and then quarterbacks start picking you apart. Now, the one thing about Ben Roethlisberger that may pose some type of challenges, one of my favorite corners in the league, Joe Hayden's going to be shadowing Antonio Brown all game, and they're probably going to do double coverage on him. But what that does is that opens up Marcus Wheaton to really exploit the D, and I think Ben's going to use that and Heath Miller to get things going. And Ben, he was pre-draft ranked around, I don't know, maybe late teens, almost 20 or whatever, towards, anywhere from 15 to 20. He has a chance this week to definitely finish inside of the top 15, maybe around that 12 or 13 range in terms of his value for this week. I think Ben is going to exceed his average draft value. Now, if you got Ben Roethlisberger, he's probably your second quarterback off the board. So that's not me saying that you start Ben Roethlisberger over your first quarterback. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you waited really, 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 really late on a quarterback and Ben is your starter, I'm saying he's probably going to turn in, top 10, top 12, output this week. So you'd be fortunate, if you had him, and if you got to start him, you'll be fortunate to have him. Running backs. Chris Johnson versus Oakland. Last year, the Raiders weren't horrible. They were in the middle of the pack, in terms of interceptions, but they're towards, the bottom in sacks. And although that doesn't have much to do with the run game, this Raiders defense is really piecemeal right now. They got Khalil Mack, they got Justin Tuck, but I think they got potential to be a pretty solid defense, but it's not going to happen, in my opinion, until around mid-season. They're going to have to take time to round themselves into form. And until then, a guy like Chris Johnson, who's going to be, I think, a huge cog in this Jets offense, him and Eric Decker, he's going to have to do so much that I really think this week will be a week where he sets the tone of what the year is going to be. So Chris Johnson has some top 10, in my opinion, somewhere around the top 10 to top 12 running back appeal this week. And he was drafted average draft position after that. So he becomes a value for this week as well. The next running back is Frank Gore. I don't even have to get into his matchup, Frank Gore against the Dallas Cowboys. I don't even have to get into the Dallas numbers. They went through what could be only viewed as a curse in terms of the injuries that they faced during the offseason. So their defense is projected, in my opinion, to be dead last or, next to dead last. And with that, anybody's going to be able to manipulate them, pass and run. And Frank Gore is one of the better, more dependable backs in the league. And he's going late in draft. He has been going late in drafts where you're able to get him at a discount. And his discount is going to be fully realized this week. Because I think Frank Gore not only has far above his average draft position value this week, he definitely has top 10, maybe even top 8, top 5 value this week against the Cowboys. You want to play whatever running backs you have against the Cowboys this year, all year. And if you got Frank Gore, you probably, and just like Chris Johnson, both of them, they're probably not your running back 1, may not even be your running back 2, but they'll heavily be solid for flex options. And in the case of Chris Johnson, he probably isn't your running back 2. Great flex play. And with Frank Gore, solid even running back 2 or even low end number 1 running back this week. But he just has some great appeal this week. And again, all of these I'm not saying replace studs, your clear number 1s with the guys. I'm saying that if you play these guys, I believe you're going to get good benefits and dividends from playing them. And now the next guy, when we get to our first receiver, I am saying maybe play him over maybe your number 2 receiver. Emmanuel Sanders versus the Colts. I'm not even going to get into the defense he's playing with. That's irrelevant to this fact right here. Right now, if you follow sports in any way, you've heard about Wes Welker. And I'm not talking about concussions. We all knew that. We had all heard news early in the week that he was getting through the concussion protocol to where he was just around a point of questionable to possibly, upwards possible to play week 1. Not anymore. This dude has been suspended 4 games for amphetamines. I don't know about y'all, but that's really shocking to me that, old West man on that Molly, boy, I don't know. But either way, that has nothing to do with fantasy. That has all to do with Emmanuel Sanders. If you picked Emmanuel Sanders anywhere after the 5th or 6th round, you've got the biggest, what I say is the biggest steal of this entire draft this year going forward. I see him being the best value in the draft because Wes Welker, whether he comes back in, and it's not going to be just 4. He has to wait till week 6 because their bye is week 4 and he has to be out 4 games. We're not going to see Wes Welker till week 6 at best if he isn't in the doghouse. So Emmanuel Sanders couldn't be in a better position to succeed. I mean, we're talking about with him truly top 10 this week. And anybody who drafted him near his average draft position was way beyond that. He becomes an absolute steal. And for anybody who hasn't drafted yet, you got to draft tonight, you got to draft tomorrow before the season starts. Target Emmanuel Sanders, and he's even worth an early bite, meaning taking him in the 5th or 6th. I was talking to a guy in the comments today about Emmanuel Sanders, and I was telling him how I think his value is high, and he was saying he had taken him a bit early, but you're going to benefit, my brother. You definitely are. So, yeah, Emmanuel Sanders is going to be a stud this year. Great value, and I don't know how you think your situation is set up. He needs to be no less than a flex. If you have him on your team, find a way to get him in your lineup this week, no matter what. Even if you got to bench somebody, Emmanuel Sanders needs to be in your lineup this week, period. The second receiver, Eric Decker. I just illustrated Oakland's offense. He's gonna, be sort of the exact parallel to Chris Johnson in except it's the passing game. They don't have much in terms of who's going to be the go-to passers in with the Jets. It's going to be Eric Decker's show, just like it's going to be Chris Johnson's show, though they have Chris Ivory, whatever. But it's clearly going to be Johnson's show, and it's clearly going to be Decker's show. He has, the potential this week to definitely outdo his average draft position because I believe I'm seeing top 15, anywhere maybe possibly 15 to 18 range for him this week against Oakland. They're going to be looking to get him involved. They're going to have to, though. We're going to see Geno try to manufacture some stuff passing because he has to. That's what makes Johnson so valuable because Geno's still trying to find his legs underneath him, or his arm rather underneath him. And Eric Decker's going to be the prime beneficiary of that. And I think it starts early in week 1. So if you have Eric Decker, he'll be a good flex option this week for sure. At tight end, we're just going to do one tight end. Zach Ertz versus Jacksonville. I just said how paltry Jacksonville's D is, and Nick Foles, and how he's going to pick them apart. One of his prime targets is going to be Ertz. A lot of people I'm hearing in fantasy circles are saying Zach Ertz is being overrated or he's not as good a value as some people think simply because he's going to be in a committee situation with Brent Selleck. That's fine, but you saw what he did in a committee situation with them last year. This situation is going to be a comparable situation to, say, the Patriots several years ago with Hernandez and Gronk, except much less talented. What I'm saying is Chip Kelly's going to be using 2 tight end sets a lot. Both are going to have room to flourish, and Zach Ertz is going to be the head of that two-headed monster. So I believe all the people that are wary of Zach Ertz because he's in a 2 tight end situation, I think they're overthinking it. I think Zach Ertz is going to really get things going this year. And if he's your number 2 tight end, like if he's your number 1, obviously you got a good start for this week. But if he's your number 2, like in several leagues, he's my backup tight end. I'm considering put him in as over my starter, depending on who it is. I wouldn't start him over, obviously, the top 3, of course, which is Gronk, Jimmy Graham, and Julius Thomas. And I wouldn't probably start him over Witten, Vernon Davis, probably that. But pretty much everybody else I would. I start him over Pitta. I start him over Kyle Rudolph. I start him over, who else is out there? Greg Olsen. This week I would. So, if he's your second guy, you might want to consider him being your first guy. And if he's your first guy, you're good to go. And the last position I'm going to mention in terms of this is a truly over his average draft position. Not his, there. The Steelers defense. I talked about Roethlisberger and how I think he has a good chance to exploit the Browns D because they're going to be on the field too long. I think the Steelers D is going to exploit the Cleveland offense because they're not going to have much. They've lost their number 1 receiver with Josh Gordon. They have half a quarterback with Brian Hoyer. Everything's going to run through their tight end, and Brian Hoyer is no Drew Brees. Even if you want to compare Jordan Cameron to the top tier tight ends, they don't have the quarterback to get him involved the way they see. That's why, though Jordan Cameron's going to be I think he's going to be a monster this year, you still have to worry about the quarterback situation because in the situation of Graham, Gronk, and Julius Thomas, they got the best three of the best quarterbacks in the world throwing to them. This situation with Jordan Cameron is not going to be pretty because it's got Brian Hoyer. So the offense is going to be somewhat problematic. Ben Tate, he's going to be doing a lot of work out there. Anybody who got Ben Tate, that's going to be a good play this year because he's going to have to do a lot. And if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a real nice surprise. But yeah, the Steelers are going to totally exploit Cleveland's offense this week. And I believe the Steelers could very well be well within the top 10 defenses this week, even around the top 8 or 7. So yeah, and the Steelers, they're not generally in most cases, because usually any player with sense in fantasy only drafts one defense, the Steelers aren't usually rostered. So if you're one of those guys out there if you're in one of them leagues rather where you got like 3 knuckleheads in the league that's got 2 defenses on the team, you might be one of those players that's got to be a defensive streamer. And what that means is every week you're playing a different D based on matchups. If you're that guy, pick the Steelers this week, because though they're not drafted, they're usually out there on everybody's waiver. This week is the week that you want to have them. Them along with the Jets makes them also, the Jets and the Eagles, really, they're really sneaky defenses this week because of their matchups. So I think the Steelers is a nice one to pick up if you're going to be doing spot ads with defenses throughout the year. And the last thing I'm going to give you is a sleeper ad for the season. When you get into drafts, you get around pick 15 or 16, you're just basically looking for something that might pop. I got something for you that's better than a mite, that's out on just about every waiver in every fantasy league. Miles Austin. Now, this is going to sound contrary because I just spoke of how Brian Hoyer is a problematic quarterback, and if Johnny Manziel takes over, he's going to be a rookie quarterback. But at this point, Miles Austin is a clear number 1 receiver in a system, in a pro NFL system. I mean, this is still the pros. And Miles, you can do worse than having the number 1 on any team, no matter who the quarterback is. And I'm saying this because Miles Austin is virtually unowned. And more than that, it's not just a situation of you want to own the number 1 quarterback on any team generally. We know Miles Austin. Miles Austin isn't a mystery. When healthy, he is an elite quarterback. He was elite in 2009, 2010. Since then, he's had hamstring issues that have made him unusable and a problem to own. But in terms of, there's somebody on your team more than likely that it would be better to own Miles Austin than that guy you have. And I'm telling you, all he is away from having a resurgent season is staying healthy. If he's able to be somewhat healthy, and I would somewhat mean staying in the game and being healthy, Miles Austin becomes an ultimate candidate for a sleeper. So it's not unheard of or even unrealistic to go add him, as opposed to holding on to this little piece of something that you really don't need, this second tight end that you got that may not be. I'd rather have Miles Austin than several, receivers out there that a lot of people are rostering. So it's just a food for thought. Miles Austin has to, and another thing, with all the injuries he sustained, though he's an older quarterback, he hasn't been out there a ton, so he's got fresh legs. If he's anyway healthy, he becomes a possible sleeper option. So if you want to add a speculative pickup, pick up Miles Austin before he becomes a possible top 5 waiver next week for you. So yeah, that pretty much wraps the list up. But I gotta give a disclaimer before I end this video. I am just like anyone else who gives fantasy information in terms of this. All I'm giving you is my opinion. This isn't based on anything that's scientific or clearly defined. This is based on facts that I pull, things that I know about football, and my thoughts and hunches for what I think should happen based on my experience playing this game and knowing the players and the situations in the teams in this league. This is not Vegas. This is not any type of sure thing. This is gambling. We are taking a risk on anything. Your number one draft pick can get injured and it blows everything. Or a guy like a Miles Austin that's sitting out there on waivers right now that nobody owns could be within the top 20 receivers this year. It is not unheard of. So basically that's my way of saying, take the information I give you from this week on with as you value it. It is not exact science. It is just some food for thought. If you have any of these players I mentioned and on weeks going forward, you're looking for, what should I do? What would somebody, I can give you some advice to help, but this is all of a long drawn out way of saying, don't be mad at me if any of these things don't happen. This is fantasy football. And in fantasy football, ain't none of us GMs or coaches. We are players that scout statistics, scout probabilities, and scout potential. And that's what we're doing. So take it all as it is. Advice. And with advice, you take it or you leave it. And it might not be conducive or best for you. It may. So I just wanted to say that out there, and before anybody, takes all of this verbatim. So, hope you enjoyed that, and I hope this gives you some, clarity if you have any of these guys that I mentioned. And like I said, week 2 and on is going to be more clear cut and more of a thing to look out for, and in particularly the top 5 waiver pickups. That's always good for people that's looking, who should I snatch off the waiver. So yeah, again, subscribe, like this video, comment on this video, ask any questions. And again, I do stress that you follow me on Twitter. Even if you don't have a Twitter, maybe even create one if you got a subscription here, or if you watch me here, so that you can ask direct start as, say, I know it becomes time on Sunday, you'll be noon, and you'll want to know, oh, should I start this guy? Rather than come and comment on the video where something I may not be able to see, I'm going to have my phone near me all the time. If you tweet me, I'll be able to respond to you quickly. So add me at FF Real Talk on Twitter if you got start and sit questions. Who should I play over this person? And I'm expecting people to probably ask that a pretty good amount this year. So add me on Twitter so that'll be easier for you. So until next time, enjoy the week, enjoy Thursday, enjoy Sunday, and enjoy Monday. And I'll be back with you Tuesday or Wednesday to post the week 2 start, sits, and waiver pickups. So till then, see you and enjoy. All right.